What's going on today, guys? I'm the kid, followed by the Rook, doing track number 10. We got a little bit of a fun slate for y'all today. We'll have a little bit of fantasy football mock drafts, a couple of sleepers. We got three of each. The Rook will be doing a 10-man. The kid will be doing the 12-man league. Kind of give y'all both two insights of two different leagues. We also got a couple of different, track records, deluxe tracks. We also have the Cowboys preseason, a couple of notable injuries and, kind of break that down a little bit by the Rook. And before we go any further, the Rook, how are you?
I'm solid, dude. I'm solid. It's just been working hard. I had to fix my truck, dude. My radiator got shot, so I had to bring out the old pocketbooks for that one. So safe to say, the emotions got a little tempered today and yesterday.
Well, to join you on that, my car is also in the shop right now. My AC was not working. We're getting that fixed. Luckily, the 2015 maroon Honda Civic non-sports edition has warranty on it, or warranty, sorry. And we're gonna get that fixed. Have my car back in the next couple of days, and we're ready to rock and roll. But we're actually really excited today to get this slate going. If you don't know about the Rook and I, we really enjoy doing mock drafts, especially last summer.
Oh yeah,
Single as fuck, working and all that. Mock draft, hours and hours, and it really helped out because we almost saw each other in the championship in your league.
yeah, I was close.
It got to the point, when we started drafting with each other, doing all these mock drafts, we knew what each other were thinking. You're like, you could just see who was on the board, and you're like,
Yeah,
exactly. Your big guy was Amon St. Brown.
yeah. That was in the 12-man, right?
12-man, yeah. And mine was James Cook and Travis Etienne. I only got one of those guys. And yeah, we're excited. And the Rook is going to start us off. Let's see what you got, Rook. Let's give the people some insight.
Yeah, let's dive directly into some Dallas Cowboys football. So, obviously we had the Cowboys versus the Seahawks last Saturday evening, around 9:00 game. First off, I want to talk about the commentator booth of that game. If you weren't watching the game live, it was all over Twitter about how terrible NFL Network did. It was just very unprofessional. They were rambling on left and right they were raving over. I understand they were both Seahawks. It was Michael Bennett and I can't remember the other guy's name. He was some backup cornerback for the Seahawks when they won the Super Bowl, and they just stuck him on NFL Network. And then a female lead, and so it was just like kind of wacky to listen to it because they were going way off track. But to get back on track, Cowboys versus Seahawks. Obviously, the big news, we lost. Who cares? We work on our stuff during the preseason. And that's what I appreciate about the Cowboys most of all during the preseason. We're working on scenarios. We're working on, like other teams do. But, the Ravens always preach, oh, yeah, we're undefeated. We're like 35-0 in our last 35 preseason games. We're undefeated. And it's like, well, when was your last, I can't really talk, but, when was your last Super Bowl? It's like preseason games, they matter for one thing, and that's working on your craft. That's working on getting your young guys some playing time. So speaking of young guys getting playing time, DeMarvion Overshown. So we were super excited about how he was flying around the field last week, and he's a sideline to sideline, high motored, hard hitting, downstream linebacker. And Saturday when we watched the game, he ended up tearing his ACL on a tackle on defense. And so obviously I've been thinking about it all weekend. Honestly, I was at work and I was just sitting there like, dang, like that dude was really going to be something. I was just getting so excited about him. And that's the hard part about preseason and why we don't even let our starters pad up. So even DeMarvion Overshown, torn ACL, I feel heartbroken for him. And, we had another promising tight end, Jonathan Stevens, out with the torn ACL as well. He had a weird number. He's number 49 at 49. Tight end. Yeah.
He's another athletic tight end that we have. And I know it's preseason, like even with like him and Deuce Vaughn, they play with like the third stringers and stuff. But when the guy, it's kind of crazy when you think about preseason football, when you see these guys who dominate the third and fourth quarters and all that, like those guys pan out to be pretty solid NFL players. Not saying like stars, but respectable players, like they're on the field. And it's like with like Victor Cruz in the preseason, like he went undrafted, and then in the preseason they're doing this thing, and they're like, it's the Giants versus the Jets, and they're like, yo, who is that number 3?
Right. Yeah.
Like, he is torching us right now. And became the famous Victor Cruz, who was, arguably during his little 2-3 year stretch, he was a top 5 to 7 wide receiver for Eli Manning. So, it's important to see those things, like with John Stevens and also with DeMarvion Overshown.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so I think that the Overshown's injury, how it will impact this linebacker group in this Cowboys defense. Luckily, we have plenty of depth in the secondary, and especially at safety and corner. It's as deep as we've ever been at those positions in a long time. Obviously, we have a pass rush, and we patched up our interior with Mozzie, which I'll get into Mozzie later. But we're going to have to see Jabril Cox really step up. And so we saw little clips from his game on Twitter. And so one of the things that I've studied about him is he's a really disciplined player. He may not spark you or just be eye-opening with his physique or, his speed, but I wouldn't say sneaky athletic, but he's a very disciplined player. He fills the gaps when needed. He's a secure tackler. He's the type of guy that's going to need to stay healthy throughout the whole season. Otherwise, we have people like we don't have Luke Gifford, who's been a system guy for a long time, kind of that emergency linebacker. But Damon Clark as well. We kind of expect big things out of Damon Clark. We had talked about him in the previous podcast, and y'all kind of understand what me and the kid expect from a guy like Damon Clark. But Jabril Cox is going to have to be that placeholder in the linebacker core where we don't go past him. If we get past him, we're in trouble at linebacker depth. So it's going to be really tough for the Cowboys to stay healthy at linebacker. To get into Mozzie Smith, though, so I want to credit the analysts on this analysis. We did some film study on Mozzie, and he's kind of struggling. I think what he's learning most of all is that his technique can't sustain his strength. His strength can't sustain his technique. And we're seeing that just because you're big and powerful doesn't mean that you can overpower everybody in the NFL. And you have to have technique.
Oh, for sure. Well, with that, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You can't teach the size of strength that he has. And I think the Cowboys knew that. He was always going to be kind of a product, which, at the same time, we talked about how he's still going to clog up space for like other guys. He's going to open up more holes for DeMarcus Lawrence, Sam Williams, Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
But you can teach technique, and with having a coordinator like Dan Quinn and all our special, coordinators that we have, they knew it was going to be kind of a, project in the making.
Right.
And when you have the person who's just high motor, he just wants to hit people, all that. You give him, a few more months of just being in the system, learning technique and all that, like I said, his numbers are not going to, wow you like a Aaron Donald or a Chris Jones or Quinnen Williams, but he's going to be so impactful for our defense.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that.
Yeah. In the same ways that we discussed in our last podcast and how it could free up people like Parsons, Sam Williams, and DeMarcus Lawrence and Dexter Fowler. That's the quadruple threat of a pass rush right there. And if you ignore those guys, you still got a very, very strong individual in Mozzie Smith. The importance of Mozzie Smith is that he must be disciplined. He must be coachable. Dan Quinn, I trust him completely to develop Mozzie Smith into this defense, and he'll get the hang of it. And if he's a little slow to start, if that happens, and you have Jonathan Hankins there to kind of plug the middle in average to above average kind of performance. So that kind of covers the Mozzie Smith angle. I want to talk about as well two guys that are repeat stars in our first two preseason games, and that's Deuce Vaughn and Jalen Tolbert. And I'll start with Jalen Tolbert. I just posted a video yesterday about Jalen Tolbert and his impact in his first preseason game and how we liked what we saw. Well, this week we have 4 receptions and 66 yards. He had that deep catch towards the middle of the game, and Jalen Tolbert is impressing right now. I'm really liking what I'm seeing, and we talked about it off script, and you can expand on this if you want, that Jalen Tolbert may or may not have the ability to surpass Michael Gallup on the depth chart if Michael Gallup still is banged up and struggles to produce the way that we've seen him produce 2 years ago. I don't know if you have any comments on that.
So what I said 2 podcasts ago about Jalen Tolbert is I was like, he has to make his reps count. So that's what's he doing in the preseason right now? He's making his reps count. He's getting noticed where it's like, you might not play too much this year, but you have to make an impact when you go in the game.
Yeah.
And like I said with Jake Ferguson last week, how he can open up plays for Brandon Cook, CeeDee Lamb up the middle, and then we got one-on-one outside jump ball Michael Gallup. With Brandon Cooks, I think Michael Gallup is a better fit at number 3. But next year, we probably won't have Brandon Cooks and Jalen Tolbert if he's continuing to, get better and better and just get more reps in and show that he's a capable wide receiver 2 or 3. Then, he can be a big part of what we're building in Dallas. And
absolutely,
yeah. So
that's exactly right. And the cool thing about it is, one of the things that we've escaped, especially with quarterbacks, is the development of an NFL athlete. We just kind of plug and play these days. It's really important to see, and I'll revisit this as an example in our track ranking. But it's really important to see these players, no matter what round they're. If you're a first round draft pick, then we kind of expect to plug and play, right? But you kind of get to those third rounds and after, you're in that development stage. You're not just going to immediately, most times, plug in and just be an immediate impact unless you're a specific position or physique. And so Jalen Tolbert, everybody kind of thought he needed to be that guy, and I think it was because of the lack of weapons that Dak had last year compared to this year. And so we just kind of expected big things out of him. Now he's kind of buried in that depth chart behind of veterans. Like, I guess you can classify CeeDee Lamb as an early veteran. But of course, Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup, who's a tenured wide receiver in the NFL. And then obviously we got one of the oldest quarterbacks in the NFC at 30 years old, Dak Prescott. They can mentor Jalen Tolbert, and get that connectivity flowing like I was talking about last podcast. And then the last thing I'll touch on in this preseason game, and then we can move on to our track ranking, is the interior offensive line depth. I really think it's important for us either to grasp to kind of snatch a veteran in the free agency, but we don't have any depth really beyond Tyler Smith. And this is something that we're really going to have to consider when protecting a quarterback who broke his thumb last year because, the protection on that specific play wasn't up to date. And we keep forgetting a name that hasn't been mentioned yet is Terrence Steele, who had an injury last year. Is he healthy? Is he going to be a plug and play, immediate impact kind of guy? We know he's capable of being a B+, right tackle. But the last thing we want to do to start off the season, especially against a formidable opponent like the Giants to start off the year, we really want to start hot. We have that tough schedule in the first 6 games. We're going to need our offensive line healthy, especially if we want to beat the Eagles with the schedule that we have in the division. And so, I mean, most of that kind of covers the preseason game. And, if you want to comment on Deuce Vaughn, actually, I kind of forgot to touch a little bit on Deuce Vaughn.
I will touch on him. I also want to touch on the offensive line thing.
Huh?
With the the offensive line, it sounds easy to be like, we need some more offensive line depth, but the offensive line in any sport, high school, college, NFL, people don't realize how important the continuity of that line is, and having five solid. You don't really. Most teams don't have five solid starting offensive linemen.
Yeah.
And when people get hurt, you see how it completely changes. There's not really much depth in the NFL with offensive line. There's only a handful of actually good linemen, and then there's guys who are on a good line who can be shadowed by those good guys. It's kind of like what the Cowboys did when they had Doug Free. When they had Doug Free with the 2014 and 2016 line, they had Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, they had Tyron Smith. And then Doug Free was the worst link of that team.
Yeah.
But the Cowboys are so good that it made it capable of him to be on that. So just finding depth, it's not as easy for say to be, but you could try to do it, but it's just more of when you have an offensive line, you're banking on them being the tougher guys who will play through injuries, and the only thing that will keep them out is like a kind of like a knee injury where it's like ACL, MCL, meniscus and all that. So I mean, I want the Cowboys to get some more line help, but it's kind of hard to find those guys to kind of fit in with any line in the NFL. And then with Deuce Vaughn, I think next preseason game against the Oakland Raiders or Las Vegas Raiders, sorry, PC shit, whatever. I think he needs. I think they need to throw him in there against the first and second stringers on the Oakland Raiders defense.
I agree.
And just kind of just let him see what he can do, and maybe it'll make him, really think about, let's have this guy as our, third down back or second string back, or if we're like, okay, maybe it's because he's going against these third or fourth stringers in the last two games, just give him a shot, because it looks like he can be a home run hitter. It looks like he's, even though he's a tiny guy, he's very intelligent in his game, and he's always making the right cuts. He's always kind of in the right movement, kind of right spot.
Yeah.
So with that, put him on special teams, like I said they should do to begin with. But the next game, they should really throw him in to start off the game with Cooper Rush and all that, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, to touch a little bit on the offensive line again, I think the main goal is, it's like you said, it's tough to have five reputable, all-stars on your offensive line. It's tough to find. I think the goal is for those outliers to be undiscoverable. And that's what I like about what the Cowboys are doing in the preseason is you see them running to the left side a lot because they know it's their weaker part of the offensive line, especially depth-wise. But once the season starts, they're really, if we get that full offensive package, I would argue the weakest link is probably Tyler Baidesh, and he's very, very solid center. So it's very encouraging, but it's good, like I mentioned at the beginning, that they practice on those things like running it to the left side and exposing their weaknesses and really getting those guys all the reps because they're playing most of the game. And then, of course, Deuce Vaughn, like you mentioned, phenomenal preseason so far. Get him in with the ones and twos. He's a very tough guy to tackle in open space, no matter his size. Very shaky, elusive, and he's tough to get your hands on because you have to get lower than him. Pause. So, but yeah, let's roll right into our track rankings of the week. So these are our top 3 sleepers in fantasy football that we think are going to be, those hidden gems. Maybe not so much as rookies for the most part, but those hidden gems where you're like, wasn't as good last year, but it's going to be good this year. It hasn't been good in 2 or 3 years, but we expect big things this year because of the roster changes. So Hunter, I'll let you go first on your track ranking and give us your top 3 sleepers.
It's funny that you just said you're like, it's not necessarily rookies. And then looking at my list, these guys are all rookies.
That's fine.
However, though, so how we're doing these track rankings this week is that I'm going to be doing the 12-man sleepers, kind of, league winners kind of deal. And then you have the Rook doing the 10-man. So for the fantasy league winners I got 3 of them. I got at tight end. I'm telling you, people are probably not. If you pay attention, you know this guy might actually be something. It's Luke Musgrave, tight end for the Green Bay Packers. You
Good
got
one.
you got an athletic tight end. You have a basically a rookie quarterback thrown into the fire. Having to take over the reins of Aaron Rodgers. He needs a safety blanket. Luke Musgraves, you might not draft him in unless it's like the 15th round. Maybe you want to go 2 tight ends, kind of that. But he'll definitely be in all your 12-man leagues. Pick him up, maybe stash him, maybe, get him early before someone else does. Another one would be Devin Achane. And I know he is a little banged up. It's a shoulder injury week to week.
He did escape that serious injury, so
Yeah,
he
see,
should be
I
good to go.
saw it's like week to week. And knowing Mike McDaniels and kind of the way they want to move their team, they want to be a fast team. And Raheem Mostert is a serviceable running back who is fast, but Devin Achane has a little bit more in the tank than he does, and he can, catch the football. He's a home run hitter. People are saying he's like Chris Johnson, which I can see it. We watched him at A&M, and I said this 2 years ago when they had, Anais Smith and Isaiah Spiller, and I was like, that dude, when he's a freshman, I was like, that dude's the best running back on that team, 100%. I was like,
Absolutely, yeah.
he's just a home run hitter. He's every time he touches a ball, he might take a yard. He's averaging like 7 yards to carry, and that's in the SEC, which is very impressive.
We really saw him explode against North Carolina when Sam Howell was there. That was his breakout game.
Yeah, that was the Orange Bowl of 2020, and then or 2021, and then with this guy's he's probably going to be drafted around the 7th to 9th round. His Zay Flowers of the Baltimore Ravens.
Love it.
He already had a bunch of hype coming up to him, and then last night in the preseason game against the Commanders, he really showed you. He caught the ball, made a move, and then took it to the end zone. He has that home run capability. Lamar Jackson finally gets what could be a number 1 wide receiver. If you're not a big fan of Lamar throwing, he might not be your number 1 sleeper option. But if you're willing to roll the dice and you can get him at a cheap value, Zay Flowers is a good way to go.
I love it. Those are your diamond, platinum, and gold track rankings of the week. I want to start off hot here. I want to put a 12-man one in there from yours, but I'll change it. But I just wanted to note Jordan Love. I think he's a guy that you could draft late that I think could be a real big hidden gem sleeper. I've been very impressed with his accuracy in the preseason. So I just want to throw that out there. I like Jordan Love in a 12-man. However, my gold ranking for this track ranking is Tank Bigsby. I think this guy is going to be highly impressive. He's a much bigger back than Travis Etienne. He's a guy that you can get really late in a 10-team draft, especially in those 14, 15 rounds. So my gold is going to be Tank Bigsby. Platinum. What's up?
This is to kind of validate what you said. Doug Peterson said that Tank Bigsby's role by midseason is going to be a big part of their offense. So with that being said, we saw the same thing last year with ETN, with James Robinson. Are we about to see that again? But that's what Doug Peterson said. I saw it yesterday. So I like that Tank Bigsby sleeper pick.
And the good thing about Doug Peterson is you can kind of trust his word about what he's going to do with the offense. He's pretty reputable, or has a pretty good reputation of doing what he says he's going to do when it comes to roster moves, and that I've seen. My platinum, though, is Kenneth Gainwell. This is the running back from the Philadelphia Eagles. They got DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny, and Kenneth Gainwell, and I think Boston Scott is still there. And you've got these 4 serviceable running backs, and they just came out the other day and said that Kenneth Gainwell is impressed the most, and he's probably going to get the most interaction above most touches above DeAndre Swift in the regular season, which is big news because he wasn't that kind of guy last year. But I think for what they're doing in their RPO schemed offense, I think he can be a guy that he's going to be that new Miles Sanders, a good guy you can pick up in the mid rounds, probably after probably 7th, 8th round, maybe. He might go later, but we'll find out in the draft analysis. I'm not sure. He might go earlier. But obviously, DeAndre Swift's a guy you can look at too. But Kenneth Gainwell, if you don't know, now you know. But number one, and this could classify as a reach in a 10-man, but I don't care. My diamond ranking is Jake Ferguson. I talked about him last podcast. That you can tag freezing cold takes however you want. You can comment that certain PCL teared tight ends are better than Jake Ferguson. You can bash us and bash us and bash us. We are prophesizing this in motion. And Jake Ferguson is going to be, I think he's going to be a hit. He's like one guy that you can get late. Not in our round, not in our draft, apparently, because I think everybody's kind of on Jake Ferguson. I think he'll get picked somewhere between 10 and 15th round in the 10-man because we want him so bad. Pause. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But he's a guy that you can get, especially in a 12-man. But in a 10-man, if you want to roll the dice, like Hunter said on his roll the dice pick, try Jake Ferguson.
Sure.
And that's our track rankings, our diamond, platinum, and gold track rankings of the week, our top 3 sleepers. We're going to move into our deluxe track headlines, and then we'll get into our fantasy football mock drafts.
Before we do that, sorry for the inconvenience. I need to turn on my light. Sorry.
Now let's get into our deluxe track headlines. We're going to do 2 each. We're going to start with the kid, and then I'll follow up.
So guys, the deluxe tracks of the week for me will be Skip Bayless. His longtime partner, Shannon Sharp, left to go join First Take, but he's joined by a new crew. He has Lil Wayne, Michael Irvin, Cowboys legend, and Richard Sherman, where he had the infamous debate on ESPN where, they're going at it with each other, and, Richard Sherman's taking subliminal shots at him, and Skip Bayless just, took it as a man. And I'm actually really intrigued to kind of see Skip Bayless and Richard Sherman kind of debate each other. I think him and Michael Irvin are going to be pretty much same page. And Lil Wayne, Skip Bayless, he lives by this. He says Lil Wayne is very intelligent with his sports take. So if Lil Wayne says a take, then he really means it. As in, he really thinks about what he's going to say, and he says it. So I'm really intrigued. And Lil Wayne's a big Packers fan. So they'll be probably talking a lot of Jordan Love and all that stuff. He'll be showing up on Fridays. And then
Weezy.
And then, with this other deluxe track, man, Will Levis has a lifetime sponsorship with Hellman's Mayo after video of him putting mayo in his coffee.
Oh, God. Too much.
Rick, our people, man, they taking an L with this one, man. They always make the mayo jokes. You got Will Levis putting mayo in his coffee.
Man, how white can you get?
It's just like, that's just one of ours. And, I guess you got to let the mayo jokes keep going as just white people because, he is putting mayo in his fucking coffee. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure I have white guilt after that one.
Yeah, so we got we have Skip Bayless, his new crew, Richard Sherman, Michael Irvin, and Lil Wayne. And Will Levis just being a typical white water casserole, mayo pudding lover as a person in his coffee. So
bitch ass white boy.
Bitch ass.
Solid deluxe tracks. I'm going to add a third one in here because I meant to tell you before we started, but I just found out about this breaking news from the Jedi, my brother. But I'll start off. Jonathan Taylor requests a trade from the Colts after Jim Irsay's fat-ass whale dies post-transport. So suitable fitters include the Vikings, Dolphins, and Chiefs. So it'll be interesting to see where Jonathan Taylor winds up and how it'll affect fantasy drafts that have already happened or that are going to happen, such as ours this Sunday, which brings me to my second deluxe track. The Trak Dynasty Fantasy Draft is this Sunday evening, meaning our first fantasy football press conference for the podcast is coming soon. This will be a live event and highly entertaining, so keep yourself posted about the event on our socials. We got some really fun stuff for you guys. It's going to be comical. The kid and I have got a really funny themed press conference idea that has to go with the Dak Seipel and the Romo Sapien. So that'll be interesting. And my third one, and I can either confirm or deny if this is true. This is according to the Jedi. Snow White, the movie with that woman that has been bashing her own movie and talking about how toxic Snow White is and how there wasn't any consent and there shouldn't be any men in the movie. She's just been butchering her own movie. It's awful to see. Her and Gal Gadot. They canceled the movie. They canceled the movie as a whole. It's no longer happening. So all that work in film production, and she wasted everybody's time and she butchered the entire movie for Disney. I mean, that is hilarious.
Wait, I'm looking it up real quick.
Yeah, confirm with the sources right quick.
Okay, here we go. Let's see.
All right, Adam Schefter. What you got?
So I got
breaking the news live on air.
It says, while Disney is abandoning the original Snow White, there is no truth to reports that the live-action adaptation is being canceled. Instead, Disney will continue to move forward with the film and is still expected to be released in 2024. That was 9 hours ago. And
damn.
And then, well, like I said, 8 days ago. But the Snow White movie has already been canceled ahead of its debut. So
culturally it was canceled, but in reality it's still happening. So I was 25% right.
Well, then it's also another report saying Disney officially cancels the live-action Snow White movie. That was 4 days ago. So
what the?
This is a topic that will get people talking. And what's good is you didn't confirm if it was true or not.
Good. So yeah. I'm glad I did that.
This is good for people who are listening. Go figure out yourself. I just read what I saw on the internet.
Do your own research.
But yeah, I hope it gets canceled.
Me too. That woman does not deserve to have that movie after butchering her own performance. And that is just unheard of. It's like creating your own brand and then going, guys, don't buy this brand. This shit sucks. And then nobody buys your brand.
I mean, the problem is that she's making all these comments, but then when she makes a comment, she obviously has not seen the movie. And then it's like, it's not that, people love woke culture for some reason. And it goes to where it's like, they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. But then they're like, when she's talking, they're like, bro, that shit didn't even happen. So then she's just trying to cause catastrophe and like controversial takes. And with that, she's just kind of screwing herself in with this movie. So
I love that. We're shattering the script live on air. Love it. So appreciate you fact checking me there. I'm glad I said I'd neither confirm or deny.
Yeah, that was good wordplay right there, son.
Good. Yeah. I'm very careful with my words these days. Well, let's get into our fantasy football draft analysis. Like Hunter mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, he's going to be analyzing a 12-man mock, and I'll kind of give my little 2 cents in it as well. But he's kind of guide us through his strategy for a 12-man, and then I'll follow that, and I'm going to give my strategy for a 10-man, and he'll give his 2 cents on what I have to say. So we could not like each other's, or we could really like each other's. I think we pretty much align the same way because, like he mentioned earlier, we're stealing each other's picks in the 12-man a lot. I think it happened probably 3 or 4 times. We're screaming cuss words across the Buffalo Wild Wings table in Austin, Texas, and we're just like, shit, he stole me. That's the beauty of fantasy football. So, look. In the 10-man that we're in, we're not sure about the 12-man yet, but in the 10-man that we're in for the Trak Dynasty, we are neck and neck. Like I mentioned in the last podcast, the Trak is 4 in a row. So there's no escaping it. We kind of all know our thoughts on every move. It's going to be a very tough scenario. Hunter's right before me, and then on the back end, I'm right before him. So we're not really damaging each other.
Wait, no.
Oh, you're 10. I always get that confused. You're 10. I'm 8.
No, you're 7.
I'm 8.
Okay, you're 8.
You're 10.
I'm 10.
I keep getting confused. Ryan, the analyst, is 7th. I need to get that through my damn skull. Anyway, either way, on the way up, I'm before you. On the way back, you're before me.
Cool. Well, let's see what you got, man. I'm really intrigued to see what picks I'm going to jack from you.
Let's do it. Here we go. Here's a little template. Obviously, I have the 8th pick in the draft. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, yes, sir. Love that. StreamYard. Shout out to StreamYard. I like the little platforms I got here. So I'm going to put in the roster. I had to, screw the queue. I don't use the queue. Got the roster on the bottom. 8th pick in the draft. You never really know what the sleeper AI is going to do. I put an unlimited time on the picks. That way I have time to kind of communicate with you guys, and we can each give our 2 cents before I make a selection. And it's not going to be like life or death selections here. This is just kind of running through our analysis and strategy. But let's go ahead and get this on the road. Get the show on the road.
All right. Is that Jamar Chase number 1?
Yeah, Jamar Chase number 1. A lot with the sleeper mock drafts, and I don't really vibe with it, really. I think Jetta is a high probability to go number 1 overall, and I think it's either him or McCaffrey. But I really don't think, honestly, this might be a hot take, I really don't think, it is timed, what the hell, that Jamar Chase will be picked before Tyreek Hill. I think a lot of people draft in a way where they think about what he did last year instead of what he's going to do this year, which Hunter will expand on in his 12-man analysis. For me, though, I kind of have my head set on one thing, and kind of funny that I'm even talking about this, but Cooper Kupp's right here. I don't mind Cooper Kupp at all. I think he's a fantasy machine. But I kind of made this promise to myself that if CeeDee Lamb made it to me, we both believe he's a dark horse wide receiver 1. I don't know if he'll make it this far to me, but I want to go CeeDee Lamb here. Even though Stephon Diggs is kind of getting up there in age, but I still trust him. I'm just saying I like that young, enthusiastic CeeDee Lamb.
Hey, if you want your guy, you got to go get your guy. Exactly.
And right here, see at the running backs in the bottom left corner, I'll bring up the menu. That way you guys can see, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. I'm not a big fan of drafting these guys this early. I just don't value the running back position that much. He's been Derrick Henry's been battling injuries. We don't know what's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor. My value could be ruined into a committee backfield like Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. Josh Jacobs is getting up there in age. He's frustrated with his contract. So I'm not really valuing running backs here. I'm valuing wide receivers. And one guy that I think is going to have an exceptional year, I don't trust Jimmy G throwing it to Tay, even though I think Tay's going to have a pretty good year, is Garrett Wilson. And if he was right here in a 12-man, I'd feel a lot more comfortable in grabbing him. But like Hunter said, go get your guys. And you can't go wrong with them. You cannot go wrong with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Not one bit. But I'm going to go Garrett Wilson here. Thoughts on my first 2 picks?
I like them. I've been saying that CeeDee Lamb takes for a while now, and it's like you want your guys, like they might seem like a reach, but I mean, if you don't draft CeeDee Lamb in that spot or Garrett Wilson in that spot, you're not going to get them. So
right,
it's not really a reach if you believe they're going to be, good because they're either going to go in the first or second round. So it's more of you take them or you don't. So I like those picks a lot.
So here's a perfect example. Here's what's on the board for quarterbacks. You got Lamar, Burrow, Fields, Herbert. Again, I just don't value quarterbacks this early in the draft. My cardinal rule is never be the first to draft a quarterback, let alone second. Let these guys reach for these guys early. Now, running backs. We got Tony Pollard on the board. I already got CeeDee Lamb. I don't really like to stack wide receiver or Dallas Cowboys. That's kind of my cardinal rule. My number 1 cardinal rule is don't draft Dak Prescott. I want to just watch him without the fantasy football aspect in mind. That's why I draft Dak in all my mock drafts, because I know I'm not going to draft him in a real draft. But here's the wide receiver slate. These first 2 guys, I'm just not very big on. if I didn't draft CD Lamb in the first round, I'd go Tony Pollard here, 100%. But since I already did, I'm going with Calvin Ridley. He's a guy that I really like.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going
Okay.
Calvin Ridley for sure. Now, one guy I'm actually surprisingly high on, he just got picked right before me, Najee Harris. I think he's going to have a pretty good year. I really like what I think he's going to do this year. I think Pittsburgh is a sleeper team. All right, Hawkinson's there. You could go with Hawkins or Kittle. Kittle battles injuries every year. Kyle Pitts, I'm never drafting again. Darren Waller, never drafting again. But Hawkins is a good pick here. You could get some good value here. You can start expanding, but obviously you haven't picked a running back yet. My plan is to go wide receiver heavy in every draft. Wide receiver heavy, and don't really be too concerned about if you have a running back or not. They're going to be committee backfields anyway. They're all going to be projected 10 to 12 points. You're going to have those few outliers like Bijan and Derrick Henry or Eckler and McCaffrey. Like those guys are going to get their touches for sure. But those other guys, they don't provide the Swiss Army knife value. But yeah, right here, I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. I got high hopes for him. I like Travis Etienne there, but same thing applies. Already drafted Ridley. I don't really want the Jacksonville stack. I kind of like to spread out my team a little bit, so I can, when I watch NFL Red Zone, any game that comes on, I got a player playing.
Did Hawkinson fall back to you?
He did.
There you go. That's a perfect time to get him.
There you go. So look at the wide receiver options here. I don't like it at all. Terry McLaurin just got hurt today. Jerry Jeudy, we don't know if we trust the Broncos yet. I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm actually a little higher on Jerry Jeudy than most. Drake London, Desmond Ritter's throwing him the ball. Christian Watson. There are unknowns, but I believe Jordan Love can do good. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, you could get Hawkinson now, and then if DJ Moore hasn't been picked, you can probably get him on the way back.
Oh, yeah. We're on the same wavelength here. Because I was just about to start talking about how right here you could go value. You've kind of got your guys. You got your wide receiver core, and you got your RB1. I don't need a quarterback yet. We got a tight end right here that somehow made it to the 5th round. So I'm attacking that. I'm going Hawkinson. Normally, I don't really get a tight end this early, but since Hawkinson made it to the 5th, bro, dude, I'll take it. He should be the 3rd tight end taken off the board, 1 to 4 rounds.
Yeah, DJ Moore in the 6th, bro. If he's there, damn, I don't see how you pass up someone like him in the 6th.
Well, here's the thing, too. You got Fields here available. I'm still shying away from the quarterbacks here. I'm like, yeah, sure, somebody can get this value at Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence and Dak Prescott, but I'm looking for that value that's going to last, that depth of the actual depth chart. I don't really count on a quarter. I count on my quarterback getting 18 points a game. A consistent kind of guy. Dobbins, high potential, injury prone. Mattinson, we don't know if JT is going to get traded there at the moment.
And you just got Hawkinson.
And he just got Hawkinson, exactly. Kamara suspended first 3 games. Swift, we talked about earlier how Gainwell, might get more touches than him. We don't know what's going on. They got a huge committee over there in Philadelphia. Then you got in here, we got Jerry Jeudy, Christian Watson, Chris Godwin, and Ayuk. I'm gonna right here.
If you like Jeudy, I would say you could go Jeudy, and then even maybe on the way back, you could get one of those quarterbacks that you just mentioned for a stack.
You confused me because I thought DJ Moore was there. I didn't even see that he got. I figured this was the round anyway. Because you said 6th round, and I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I said I was high on Jerry Jeudy. I also really like Ayuk. I actually I don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be there, but I think Jerry Jeudy is going to have a pretty good season this year. I don't know. Okay, but. So I basically got my wide receiver core. Now I can start exploring all my other options. I can get a quarterback that's kind of worth a shit, but he's a consistent guy. I can go for running backs now. I can kind of start stacking. Who's available at running back? James Conner, not a bad option here. Rashad White, younger guy. He's the only one over there in Tampa Bay. That's kind of what I look for in running backs is those guys that are the furthest away from a committee. Cardinal rule, don't draft Dak. So I'm going to go I think Rachaad White can make it back to me. So I'm going to go James Conner here. I think he's going to get the ball a lot in Arizona.
James Conner, 7th, bro, is crazy.
Yeah, he's not a bad option at all. I'll take him all day long. Let's just check the wide receivers just to be sure. George Pickens and Jackson Smith and Jibba. I've kind of already got my guys. I really like Jordan Addison, by the way. I'm a big proprietor of him because it's him and Jetta. That's it. You can put KJ Osborne in there, but Jordan Addison's going to get a lot of looks this year, I believe. Jackson Smith, I actually kind of favor Addison over JSN because JSN has those two top dogs in front of him.
Is Zay Flowers there?
He should be. He's way down there.
Yeah, you might be able to get him on the way back.
Oh, Zay Flowers will be there in the 10th round, probably.
Think so? Oh, I guess it is a 10, man. It's a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit skewed. But, see, if I'm drafting value here and Jackson Smith Ninjiba was the first on the board and Addison's there, I wouldn't mind picking these guys, but I've already gone wide receiver heavy. So I'm going to skip out on wide receiver here, and I'm going to stack up on running backs. I'm going to get Rachaad White. Furthest thing from a committee backfield kind of out of the two. And he kind of provides passing game value.
Rachaad White, I think when you're going wide receiver heavy, he's a good option.
Definitely.
He's young, second-year guy. Great pick.
Yeah, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Dak Prescott, still there. This is kind of my sign to not look at quarterback yet and explore my other options. You could stack tight ends. Just kidding. Don't do that. Brandon Cooks. I've already got CeeDee Lamb. No reason to get a wide receiver 2 stack for the Cowboys. I don't like stacking Cowboys. Kind of like a broken record. Traylon Burks. He's injured. He's injured currently. Kadarius Toney. He will get injured. Jahan Dotson.
I like him.
I like him.
I did a mock a couple days ago, and I picked him. I think with Terry McLaurin, this new offense that they're running, I think he's a very solid. You actually can probably get him the next round on the way back if there's another guy that you're more intrigued in.
See, I'm willing to take the risk here. Let's see what we got. Well, I might be able to stack up on wide receivers here. No. This is intriguing because I'm not a big fan of these guys. Not at the moment. I don't want to go back-to-back Washington. But, Jamal Williams, I don't know if Kendra Miller or Jamal Williams is going to get the primary touches when Kamara is suspended, but Jamal Williams is pretty serviceable. And let's look at his age. He's 28 years old. The lifespan's running out.
He looks at least 40.
Rashad Penny, there's talks now that he might not make the roster. I'm sure that's fake, but
I just think I feel like with the running backs, I think you just start going value here. Your running backs are going to be a little. I think Jamar Gibbs is a 1 and Rachaad White is your 2, and you kind of just build up your get a bunch of starting wide receivers, and then you can still get handcuffs towards the end of the draft. It kind of gives you trade value to even trade. If you need a trade for a running back eventually, you get the wide receivers to trade to do that. So.
Yeah, I agree. And so here, Zay Flowers, there's a chance he might make it back to me. That's a cool guy if he makes it back to me in the 11th. But I'm not too worried about it. I got my wide receiver core. But obviously, like I mentioned before, I don't like these running backs. I got my tight end already. Dak Prescott was just picked. Ding, 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 ding. Time to pick a quarterback. Tua, he got a new sleeve, by the way, so he's going to be exceptional now. Head ass. I'm not drafting this molester, rapist, and pedophile. Aaron Rodgers, I expect big things out of him.
Hey, Aaron Rodgers, bro, in the 10th or 11th, great value pick. And you have Garrett Wilson. It's a perfect stack to have.
Perfect stack. And what did I say earlier? I wanted a quarterback that is consistent, that can give me 18 to 20 points. Now, Aaron Rodgers is not going to light up the scoreboard with 40-point games because he rushes for 1,000 yards a year. but he's not going to throw a lot of interceptions. He's not going to turn over the ball a lot. He has protection. He has weapons. He's very consistent, and he's one of the best in the league. I'll take him in the 10th. So far, so good. Let's look at the roster so far. We got Aaron Rodgers, and our running back core is Jahmyr Gibbs, James Conner, and Rachaad White. And at wide receiver, I'm stacked. I got CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Jahan Dotson, and at tight end, I've got a top 3 tight end, which I got almost in the 6th round, TJ Hawkinson. Now, let's see what we have. There's 2 things I'm thinking here in the 11th round. Who am I running? Who can I start looking at cuffs? Sort of like those committee guys. And do I want to be the first one to draft a defensive team? I am in love with the Dallas Cowboys defense this year. But if somebody else picks them, my 12-man, I have a different rule in 12-man, and I'll explore it. I don't want to say who I'm going to draft, but my mind is set on who I'm drafting in the 12-man for defense. I have a plan. For my 10-man, if the value's there, I might go Dallas Cowboys defense or Philadelphia or 49ers so I can get those, 25% of the time you're getting 20-plus points. So that's interesting. Let's see here. Schultz is there. Kincaid. Good guy to get in a 12-man. This is the guy that I've been in love with for a while. Pause. Elijah Moore. I think he's going to have an explosive year.
That's a good pick in the later rounds before you start going for defenses or even handcuffs. Elijah Moore, even though he's the number 2 on that team, I mean, you got a bunch of depth. Like, you never know. And Amari Cooper sometimes, isn't the most serviceable wide receiver as in health and all that. So, not a bad pick at all.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the Cowboys. I would do this in a reverse way probably because I think – actually, I'm going to anticipate something. I think this guy – I think Devon Achane is going to be close to being gone at this point because people know about him. So I'm going to pretend that he's barely available right now. Grab Achane for the upside, and I need the running back depth. Then flip it in the 12th round and get my first defense with the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, I know. I should be a CEO. Watch. Everybody's going to watch this go, wow, this guy's an idiot. Guarantee you. You can never be right in fantasy. There's always a smarter guy in the room.
You're looking at
then again, Elijah Moore picked right before I did. Now here I'm going to go Justin Tucker. No, I'm just playing. Let's see.
Is Zeke still on there?
Yes. So he's the guy that I was going to talk about as a sleeper. He's one of those guys that everybody's kind of counting out, but he's a very serviceable back when he's healthy. I don't need another quarterback. I don't need another tight end. I already got my defense. My wide receiver depth is there. My running back depth is there. But you can never go wrong with more upside at running back. Let's go Zeke. Another guy I like there, Algier. I think he's a really good running back. He's a guy you can get as a committee backfield type of high tier cuff that can actually turn out to be serviceable in case Bijan misses a game or two. God forbid an injury. Let's see what we got here. I'm trying to look for Brock Wright. Algier there.
Henry Ruggs.
Henry Ruggs, yeah. Let's see. I might go stupid here and get Tank Dell. Tank Dell is going to be a big target for C.J. Stroud. I don't really like
your last pick. There's nothing wrong with having 2 quarterbacks, especially when one of them might be your sleeper. You could always go Jordan Love with this pick and then take
I got an alternative. I don't want to draft Jordan Love in a 10-man, but I'm very high on this other individual known as Kenny Pickett. So I'm going to go with Kenny Pickett, and everybody can laugh at me, but I don't really need anything else here. I didn't need a running back. I already got my sleeper. I don't need a wide receiver. I'm not going to double stack on tight end. Bless you. My kicker, who gives a fuck? Let's go Graham Gano. I'm sure Daniel Jones won't finish a lot of drives. But that wraps it up, man. I mean, I'll just give my final breakdown. That way you guys kind of have it in a list, and this is kind of for a clip, so I'll do that. There's a lot of running back committees, and there's plenty of wide receiver options. Stack wide receiver ones in rounds 1 through 3, and you can play with the running back options later. Don't value tight end too much unless you just love Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, or TJ Hawkinson more than the average individual. Never be the first to draft a quarterback. Cuffs aren't as essential as they are in a 12-man, but still be on the lookout in the 10-man. Personally, I like to have a defense that has the capability to make me 20 plus points 25 to 30% of the games. So aim high. I don't give a fuck about a kicker value. Don't trust sleeper AI. Expect certain players like Calvin Ridley to be gone before AI projects them to be. And that is my draft analysis.
Nobody else?
Appreciate
All right.
it.
Fuck y'all.
Appreciate it. That took a little longer than expected.
Yeah. But that was good. You did a little good breakdowns with that. I'm gonna do mine a little bit faster. I'm gonna kind of speed race it. You know, my mind kind of.
They kind of already heard my 2 cents, so I won't pitch in as much. I'll kind of just let you take over.
Yeah. So, luckily, people do not watch our streams as much. So, how do you present the screen to where how you just had it?
One.
Yeah. So, like the Rook just did, he did this little 10-man mock draft. You know, he had very good points, and like we've been saying this whole time, we have a kind of the same logic when it comes to picking, especially just kind of doing all these mock drafts together and us just being fantasy gods and all that. You know, I'm a 2-league winner from last year. I was
the 2-time.
I was the highest scorer in all 4 leagues I was in, and I lost in the playoffs in 2 of those leagues, putting up 140. So it's not just because I drafted well, it was because I drafted well and made trades. So what I learned about doing these, especially in a 12-man, because once you figure out the 12-man league, it really helps out with your 10-man leagues because you have to be a lot more strategic in your 12-mans because of injuries, more people having more players. So you start to get in these little areas of where your players aren't going to be as good as a 10-man, of course.
Right.
So I'm going to be drafting 5th in this 12-man because I drafted 5th last year in the 12-man league I was in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to like to go wide receiver heavy. That is my objective for this mock draft. Of course, I'm going against AIs, so it's going to be a little different, but we're going to break it down and we're going to see what's going on. So I'm going to start the draft.
Get it rolling, Wood.
McCaffrey, Jetta, Jamar Chase, and Eckler are the first 4 gone.
That makes more sense than the last one.
Yeah, so, you know, you could go between Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Bijan. Those are like the 3 top guys and also guys I would think about going. You know, this guy really helped me out last year in a lot of leagues. And I love Travis Kelce, but with Tyreek Hill, he's just one of those guys where you don't need a tight end to get you so many points. Like, yes, Travis Kelce's capable of getting you, 20 points a week. But with Tyreek Hill, he's capable of going for 40 and realistically getting like 15 because he gets about 7-8 catches a week. That's not including the yards and with the touchdowns he can get.
Yeah.
So number 5, I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill, and I'm going to let Team 6 get Travis Kelce.
Hey, press that volume button on the top. There you go. Might get a little annoying for the
Team 6 took there goes the quarterbacks.
Dang, already.
Yeah, so now we get back. So we're with the wide receivers. We got Amon St. Brown, Garrett Wilson. You can go Olave, T. Higgins. If you're looking to go running backs, we got Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, ETN. Tight ends, you could always go with Mark Andrews. And I love Mark Andrews, and I was in this spot last year, and I could have took Mark Andrews, but instead I took Tyreek Hill last year in the 2nd round. And Tyreek Hill, ended up being the number 2 wide receiver. So I'm going to do this. with what I think the new Tyreek Hill being in the new offense last year, this guy gets a new quarterback. So I'm gonna go Garrett Wilson at 2.8.
Love it. If you can get Garrett Wilson right there, and I got Garrett Wilson where I got him in the 10-man, take it all day.
So then now we get back. So now we still can get Mark Andrews, which I think Mark Andrews in the third round of the 12-man is fantastic.
About to say.
And then you could get.
That's tough.
I'm in a predicament where I want my guy Ridley, but
in a 12-man. I will say this. To give you more comfort. There's no way in our 12-man that Mark Andrews is making it to the third round.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let's do a little bit different. Last year in Jared's league that he runs, I got Mark Andrews in the third round, and I was like, fantastic. I was like, I would love Mark Andrews in the third round any day of the week. So I'm going to live by that. I'm going to go Mark Andrews when I really want Ridley. Let's hope he falls back to me.
Ain't no way. But that's in a 12-man, getting Mark Andrews there in the third round, we're taking it.
And, I'm like with the Rook. I'm not very big on these running backs. I think you can get a lot of value in later rounds.
If you know your shit, it's really tough to mess up on running backs when you're stacked on wide receivers.
So now we get to, we got the running backs. We got K9, Dameon Pierce, Miles Sanders. I love K9, but he's, been kind of dealing with a couple of injuries. I'm not sure how he's really going to pan out. Your wide receivers, in a 12-man league, what I always say every year, you have to get a game-changing guy on your team in the fourth round. The last 4 years in a 12-man league, I've gotten Stephon Diggs first year in Buffalo, #1 fantasy wide receiver. I picked him, and everybody's like, what kind of pick is that? Blah, 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 blah. Just dissing me, whatever. Got him. Top guy. The next year, I get DeAndre Swift when he was on the Lions, and he was, before he got hurt, was the number 2 or 3 running back in fantasy. I got him in the fourth round. And then last year, I got ETN in the fourth round, and he ended up being a very serviceable running back before I traded him off for Devontae Adams. I don't want to get into details. I know that sounds crazy, but it did happen. I just made a couple moves. So at this, this might seem like kind of like a reach, but I think this guy's going to do really good this year. And I know Jared's might hate on this pick. I'm going to go DJ Moore.
All right.
I know Jared's I don't want to draft the DJ Moores, the DK Metcalfs.
Yeah, I'm not too big on DJ Moore. I understand the hype with Justin Fields, but I just have PTSD of DJ Moore.
And then if you're playing this would be let's see. We got Watson. We got, Dobbins. I think I can wait a little bit longer without getting a running back. I think there's still good value to be. So I'm going to keep stacking up the wide receivers.
Oh, shit.
I'm going to go with Christian Watson.
Okay. All right. That boy going to be stacked on wide receiver.
Oh, we're going wide receiver heavy. This is a ballsy move for people to make, but I was kind of hoping for James Conner to get back to me. Now I'm in a little bit of a bind right here.
You can always count on somebody to freak out about their running backs or that they don't have enough wide receivers, because look at Team 8. Team 8's already drafted 4 running backs and 1 wide receiver. They're going to want wide receivers. You use your wide receivers as trade value.
This is going to be a funny running back to have, where he's in a little bit of a committee backfield. It's in the 6th round. Does Dalvin Cook make it back to me, or do I need to take Brandon Ayuk right here?
Oh God, more wide receivers.
I'm gonna roll the dice, guys. I'm gonna go with Brandon Ayuk and I hope that Dalvin Cook makes it back to me.
He's gonna be the next pick. Watch. For those of y'all listening, he was the next pick.
Running backs. Now this is where it gets a little shitty. My running backs in the 12-man, I got Javonte Williams, David Montgomery, AJ Dillon, Antonio Gibson, Jamal Williams, Rashad Penny. You know, all these guys who were. So, with that being said, I think I'm gonna have to go more wide receivers.
Holy shit!
I just think
Hey, Pickens is there.
I'm gonna go with my boy Mike Williams.
Mike Will in the 7th. Dude, he was picked in the 2nd last year in our 12-man.
People are probably looking at this and be like, "This motherfucker really just drafted all these wide receivers." But I have a plan.
You said you were going to commit to running or to wide receiver heavy. What you got now? Oof. You got all the second stringers.
No, I got. There's a starter that's just kind of creeping in there. Do I want to reach for him though?
I don't really see any value anywhere else.
Because I can get Brian Robinson, or I can get like Khalil Herbert. Yeah. I'm gonna get Brian Robinson. No. Yeah, because I have DJ Moore. I'm gonna get Brian Robinson. Let's see.
Man.
Let's see if A-Rod makes it back to me. Okay. A-Rod in the 9th. We'll take that. Man, people are going to look at this team and be like, oh my God.
This is where you start stealing everybody's cuffs, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. So now, let's see. What do we got here?
So you've got your tight end. You got your quarterback. You definitely got your wide receivers.
Yeah, should I go wide receiver again? Well,
hey, your boy right there in the running back section.
I know.
And that's a good value pick, too.
I know. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll. I think Pacheco has been having a little bit of injuries. And this guy was a, touchdown merchant. Plus, he was also, catching balls out of the outfield, especially in PPR leagues that we be playing in. I'm going to go with Jerick McKinnon and try to get Devin Achane or Zeke on the back end. Let's see. I think this thing's listening to me.
Yeah, it probably is.
There goes the kickers.
There you go, Zeke.
We're going to go Zeke right here. Or should I go Tank Bixby?
I think Zeke has the higher potential to take over Ramondre Stevenson.
Oh my God, that's all the defenses.
That's AI for you. There's all the kickers too.
I'm about to be rolling with the
there was 5 kickers picked in round 11. Oh my God.
See now, which my running back situation is going to be ass. So I'm going to get Tank Bixby.
He's right there too. He came back, sees everybody else drafted all those kickers and defenses.
Now, what I like to do here, I like to get a defense in the 13th, and then I'll get a backup quarterback in the 14th and draft a kicker last pick. So, looking at these defenses here, man, this is tough. These are some pretty shit defenses. Kansas City's probably not going to be playing with Chris Jones, and their team kind of sucks anyway. Packers are going to have a third-place schedule. I think I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers. They have a third-place schedule. I think their defense can be respectable. Playing with an easier schedule than usual, I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers.
Okay, solid pick. I won't reveal what I was going to do there. I'm counting on it to happen. I just thought about as our profile names in Sleeper. Happy it wasn't something controversial like Hayden Hurst's nickname.
Hey,
It was funny.
that was a legendary one. I don't think anybody saw that name coming when I put it.
Nah, not at all. But now you got Dale from the ranch.
This is where I get in a little predicament because I want to go with my last quarterback. Do I want to go with a serviceable guy like Derek Carr in a new system with Olave, Michael Thomas, Kamara eventually? What do I want to do? Or do I want to go with the low, don't know what kind of upside you're going to get? And I like to kind of roll the dice. I know what Derek Carr is, but this guy, you mentioned him, and I have Christian Watson, so we're going to go with Jordan Love.
Yes, sir. Back-to-back Packers. But hey, Derek Carr, he's got Debo 2.0, Taysom Hill. Don't sleep.
And I've been getting this kicker in most of my leagues and mocks. I just think this kicker, this team, I think is going to have – they're going to always move the ball. So they're either going to go for it on fourth down or they're going to kick field goals. I'm going to go with Cameron Kicker the Dicker.
Dude, me and you have the same ideology. I've been picking him in my mock drafts too because of that same reason. All right, show us your team. Oh, Deuce Vaughn was picked. See that?
Hey, that's
Deuce
great.
Vaughn, second to last pick. Also, since you got Mark Andrews, no Jake Ferguson.
No Jake Ferguson. But he is on the –
He's on the waivers.
And, for the most part, I usually don't pick, the Mark Andrews or the Kelseys or anything like that. But Mark Andrews in the third, it's kind of hard to pass up somebody like that. So we got Aaron Rodgers, 50 Cent, Jerick McKinnon, and then we just have or actually it's kind of nice because if this was the league where it's two wide receivers, or two flexes, I got Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson, Mark Andrews at tight end, DJ Moore, Watson, and just a absurd number of
Oh God, yeah.
receivers. And
Dude, you've got 4 flexes you can put at wide receivers that are really serviceable.
so yeah, guys, if you want to play the little no running back, I say take a chance. At the end of the day, what do you have to lose?
Right. All a guy like Brian Robinson needs is a touchdown, and he's one of those red zone types of guys. So when it comes breaking down those barriers to getting all wide receivers, and you have those running backs that are left over, you really don't need that much out of them because you saw in his roster, you've got 4 wide receivers ready to play the flex spot. So I like the draft. I like the team. We have kind of the same ideology. I love that.
Whew.
It's a lot, dude. It's a lot of talking.
It is a lot of talking.
God. Well, let's get into our track records of the week, and let's. Or actually, before we move on, do you have a cardinal rule that you want people to know about fantasy football drafts?
Do not draft your own handcuffs. Go get other people's handcuffs because what you're doing is you want to play to win, not to lose. So then when you start drafting other people's handcuffs, you're starting running backs, and then their starting running back goes down, but you have their handcuff. Next thing you know, you have a galore of running backs. So like last year, I had K9, which is Kenneth Walker. I had Travis Etienne. I had Pacheco. I had Brian Robinson. And those were my 4 bench guys that, they weren't starting yet. So my team was, kind of I had good wide receivers, a good quarterback. I was just on the rise. And once those guys started, my team took off. It was GG's in the chat. Even in both leagues. I was even in Jared's league. I remember I had Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne, K9, Leonard Fournette, Rashad White, Kareem Hunt, just all these guys. Just kind of build up your team. Don't get your own handcuffs, and then if anything goes wrong, you have enough guys to where you could go trade for a running back. If I needed a running back, I could trade one of my 7 wide receivers. Be looking, just draft value. That should be a cardinal rule. Don't try to build up your starting lineup. Just draft value, build up your whole team, not the starters.
Play to win, don't play to lose.
Yes,
Love it.
sir.
Let's get into our track records of the week. These are our lyric artists or song artists that we like to highlight each week. I'm going to go first on this one. This is one of the ones where I feel like I've done it before, but I haven't. So this is Neon Eyes by Morgan Wallen. This is for all the ladies out there that have neon eyes, that have bozo ass boyfriends, and then when a Sigma walks by, they got those neon eyes. The lyrics go, dollar in a jukebox heartache, drinking off a dive bar highway. And then the other part of the chorus goes, dancing with a ghost on the dance floor, never really getting what you came for. And that really resonates for the young Sigmas out there that know when they step in the room, the mood changes and they got the neon eyes. They're not happy in the situation that they might be, and they know they need a real man to take over. They ain't married yet. I ain't advocating for breaking up relationships. I'm just saying sometimes you can tell with them neon eyes. That's my track record of the week.
Hey, nice. It's a good song, and it's really funny when you tell a girl to her face that she has neon eyes.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they know exactly what it means, and every time you say why they have them, you hit it right
in the nail,
and then you see those neon eyes just looking at you. So last week I did a David Goggins quote, and I'm gonna do another different kind of quote this week for my track record. It's from The Dark Knight. It's actually a Joker comment, and in the quote it says, "I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve."
Love that.
He's basically saying that everyone looks at him like he's weird, or even though he is psychotic, but when you look at him deeper, kind of just bring it back to reality, you have where a lot of people think I'm weird or I do this, but at the end of the day, my takes, the way I present myself, the way I say things, I'm just ahead of the curve. I just come off different because it's not normal. And that's basically how I interpret the Joker quote to real life. But I'm not a psychopath like that motherfucker. So
yeah.
But
I like his real time comparison of that, where it's like these sophisticated people that abide by the rules. Eventually, when the cards are down, and they'll eat each other alive, basically, and chaos will break loose. And that was the whole point of the Dark Knight movie, and that he was proved wrong at the end. So, and you saw that with COVID. Just a little side note there. People are starting to loot, go crazy, and all that kind of stuff. So when the cards are down, kind of Joker was kind of right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But hell yeah, love the quote. But yeah, follow us on social media, guys. We want to see y'all's interaction. We, check out Twitter. You'll see on our personal profiles that we'll start to be collaborating with Trak to kind of get more awareness. Trak.pod on Instagram is where you'll find most of our content, and you can contact us for our inquiries. We're trying to be we want to be more active on Twitter because there's a lot of interaction on there with polls, with videos, and replies, and you can really get an out-of-pocket experience and a first-hand experience of shattering the script through our replies and mentions and whatnot, because we're very interactive. That's where all the analytics come from, is Twitter platform. TikTok, you'll see the same thing as we do on Instagram, maybe some extended videos and standardized music. The music's a whole lot better on Instagram. But anyway, so follow us on the Trak Pod at Trak.pod on Instagram. Download and like and follow us on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube as well. And pretty soon, as we keep mentioning, we'll be in the same room ready to go with a better camera, better system, social media distribution, fantasy football press conference, and a fresh NFL season for Dallas Cowboys, where we're finally engaging in our bread and butter.
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Well, the kid, always an honor. Pleasure doing it with you again. Let's kick ass next Wednesday. Pause.
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
All right, y'all have a good rest of y'all's week.